Hello, everyone, and welcome to Across Talk, a series hosted by Renew America Together, focused on fostering bipartisan dialogue, encouraging civil leadership, and healing the political divisions of our current American society. Renew America Together is a 501c3 established to minimize the effects of divisive rhetoric through bipartisan dialogue and education. This is the first episode of our series at Crosstalk. I'm joined today by two recent college graduates from Northwestern University, Robert D'Alessandro and Carter Rothman. Following their graduation, these two gentlemen started a bipartisan forum called Close the Rift, which seeks to further discourse between conservatives and liberals. Guys, welcome to the chat.
Great to be here, buddy.
So I figured I'd give you a little bit of time to introduce yourselves, just say a couple of things about what you've been up to and what you majored in at Northwestern. Robert, you want to go first?
All right. Hi, I'm Robert. I majored in political science and minored in international studies. I was very involved with Camp Kesem, which is a nonprofit organization that gives a free summer camp to children whose parents are affected by cancer. And yeah, that was me in college, and now I'm writing for a political organization called La Tonique, and I am running Close the Rift with my good buddy Carter.
I'm Carter Rothman. I graduated from Northwestern in June with a degree in political science and international studies. I also studied Arabic at Northwestern. I was involved with UNICEF Northwestern, basically just an organization that focuses on humanitarian crises affecting children. I now work for a government relations firm in Richmond, Virginia called Capital Results, mainly working in the field of telehealth, and also have co-founded this lovely website with my buddy Robert.
Well, thanks so much, guys. It's great to have you both on. I'm going to jump right into asking questions about the organization that you guys created and how you're tied into Renew America Together. What was the incentive for creating Close the Rift? How did you guys come up with the idea, and what made you decide to follow through with it after graduation?
So the initial idea actually came from, I was thinking about starting just basically a discussion blog where I would hopefully present ideas and then people would react to them and have discourse with me. But then I started thinking about Carter and I, because we're really good friends because of our political, I don't want to say battles, but definitely discussions, and they could get heated at times because I'm generally speaking more of a liberal and Carter's more conservative. But what we realized over our course of time at Northwestern was that we became good friends and also more nuanced debaters, and we had a better understanding of the world because we challenged each other. So we wanted to create an online version of that. And Carter, you can speak a little bit to how our relationship was made online by the site almost.
Yeah, it was kind of something that Robert and I both acknowledged, kind of regardless of where we were on the political spectrum, that at Northwestern, and I guess kind of just in political circles around the country, there wasn't a whole lot of room for bipartisan discussion. And I think both of us thought that was somewhat strange, just because we were so, not just that we were capable of it, but because we enjoyed doing it. That was a big part of it. that was I mean, a lot of what we did. So, he gave me a call, I think in March or early April, and said, hey, I got
right when COVID hit, just because we were bored.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also the country was falling apart. So
felt like it was just a really inopportune time to do it. And so, ever since then, we've kind of just, current events have proven that this kind of platform is all the more necessary. So we stuck with it.
Absolutely. And what has the response been so far to it? I know that you guys have had a number of users, a number of different topics and discussions on the forum. Have users enjoyed their experience interacting with other political views online? Has the response been positive?
So the response so far has been very positive, if a little bit constrained. We're really excited because we have campus reps from 4 different universities and colleges across the country who are working to promote it. We've received a lot of positive feedback and a lot of applications to work with us. So that's been great. Just because so many young people recognize that this needs to happen. And they want a place where they can engage with people across the aisle and learn from each other.
And I think there is maybe a little bit of hesitation to get discussion started right away. I think people are afraid to take the first step, which is understandable, just kind of given the environment that we're in. And there have been a few people here and there that have had negative reactions and insist that bipartisanship is kind of maybe a decoy towards some other political goal, I guess, and kind of maybe not as benevolent as it might sound, but for the most part, I have been encouraged by the response that we've gotten from people of all different, experiences and walks of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you guys, is there almost an end goal to this project? In an ideal world, let's say we have a lot more stronger bipartisan discourse through this forum. What does that look like? What does that look like for America, and what does that look like both on the forum and the blog?
I mean, I think long term, like in an ideal world, I would love to see this forum become a place where people who are really interested in politics and who are really kind of engaged in current events can debate and propose ideas that can be shared on other platforms and can be shared potentially even with, legislators. Just because it's so easy to communicate with people in 2021 with the technology that we have. I would love to see the site really become kind of or at least one of the platforms in which serious and focused and rational policy debate can take place. That might mean that it doesn't have, 1 billion users. That's fine, right? But if it can become a platform for that kind of discussion, that would be incredible.
Lincoln, your question is a big one, because what does a bipartisan America look like? I mean, it almost, we had a bipartisan America 50, 60 years ago when you had politicians working across the aisle consistently. But, I don't think it can ever really get back to that place as the status quo, because we have so many entrenched opinions at this point. But I do believe that, as long as we can recognize problems and then come to a bipartisan way of attacking them, those are the best solutions that are put forward, in my opinion. When you think about something like climate change, which has for so long been an issue heralded by the left and the Democrats, but I would argue that the best solution actually comes from capitalism, which is a conservative wheelhouse in a carbon tax. So seeing that kind of development to an issue that really everyone in the US should care about, and seeing solutions like that debated and agreed upon and then refined on our website would be just amazing to me, that if you're talking about end goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And bouncing off of that, all three of us have studied international relations. We all understand kind of the U.S. stanchion as a world power since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. And we understand also that a lot of our international success and our international strength comes from us projecting a sense of domestic strength and domestic stability and security. And I think under the past 4 or 5 years, we've almost seen that break down into becoming a very polarized America. And our allies have picked up on it as well, and our adversaries have as well, and have tried to emphasize those kinds of divides. So what, in your opinion, are the next steps to maintain the US as a world power and continue to strengthen our society and rebuild our stature as this pinnacle of democracy and civility?
Well, that is another big question.
Understatement of the year by Carter.
It's an important one though. So I originally went to Northwestern with the intention of being an FSO, a foreign service officer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really?
that was
Awesome.
that was originally my my goal. Actually, the first class that I took was Intro to IR, which is where I met Robert. So I guess it was for the best. But I have kind of shifted career path or career choice, I guess, precisely because of what you described, which is that in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, America has become less of really a United States and become a bunch of regions and states kind of battling with each other, and urban versus rural divide and black and white and so forth. So I really think that if the US is going to be a world power, we are going to have to figure out how to bridge those various divides. And so I guess I would look to the things that I think are dividing people the most, and things that I think are contributing to divides more than others. And I mean, really, this sounds like maybe kind of a small change in terms of like international IR world power consequences, but changing the primary system and making our primary system open, meaning that it's no longer a Democrat primary and a Republican primary. Basically, just a field of candidates runs against each other. The top 5 move on, or the top 4 move on, and then there's an election amongst those remaining candidates. Basically, it disincentivizes people who are on the fringes from running, and it takes a lot of power away from the respective parties to select who they want to be running and who they want in power. So if we can start there, it's a small step, but if we can start there, I think that a lot of this divisiveness that's actually been relatively beneficial for people who want to be in positions of power and who want to gain a following, I think it will be maybe less salient, and I think it would at least send a message to the rest of the world that, yeah, you know what, we are still the primary, the leading democracy in the world. We can adjust, we can change, we can adapt. So yeah, I think that's what I'd say.
I think that I agree with what Carter said. I think that would be a great idea. I don't know how realistic it is, because it would be up to the parties to change their primary system in order to put forth candidates like that. So I don't know if they're going to be incentivized to do that. I'd love to see those changes though, because I think they would make a good difference. I also think though that the US throughout its history has gone through periods of great upheaval, but we've always come out the other side a little bit better off for it. Whether it's the Civil War or the civil rights protests of the 60s and 70s, we always come out making ourselves a better society. We make progress very slowly, but we're constantly going in the right direction, in my opinion. Not always. I mean, sometimes we go back and forth, but something that I would love to see in terms of strengthening our democracy and our position in the world as a democratic leader would be the John Lewis Voting Rights Act being passed, because I think that encompasses all the problems of modern day voting and offers solid and should be nonpartisan solutions to voter suppression in a lot of ways. And it would be a great honor to his legacy as well, obviously.
Yeah, those are both fantastic solutions. And speaking of solutions, policy solutions, who is a policy figure, either in the civic space or in politics, or historical or modern, that you two admire?
Can I give one of each? Would that work?
Go ahead.
Someone historical that I really admire is Abraham Lincoln, because I know he's not technically, he wasn't a legislator in his most well-known role, but he knew exactly what the country needed and understood the Constitution, the legislature, the executive branch, and did things that were almost, actually not almost, that were, against the rules of the day when he, used executive orders to issue the Emancipation Proclamation that wasn't originally going to be allowed under the framework of the Constitution, raising soldiers to defend the Union from a secession. But he knew what was required of him in his role as president, in his role of commander-in-chief, to stabilize the Union and protect his citizens. And then for current, I have a lot of respect for AOC today. I think her recent actions in Texas show exactly what a legislator should be doing when she is not busy advancing a fairly progressive agenda. She is helping people, and it doesn't matter if she's helping people of Texas. It's helping Americans and making sure that they're okay.
Great.
Yeah, so historically, I would say any of our founders. I would highlight Washington, Jefferson, Madison. It's amazing that they had the glaring gaps they had in terms of, I guess, moral perspective. With that said, the foundation that they laid for this country was born out of an understanding of human nature and of the ways that people interact with each other, and the potential downsides of allowing people to interact with each other freely in order to make policy, in order to construct a society. I think without them, the country would never have lasted this long. The ideas that they put forth were truly invaluable. So historically, I would say the founders. Present day, I will say I have a harder time finding politicians in 2021 that I like a lot. I guess this kind of applies to people on either side of the aisle, but basically the moderates in Congress right now. So senators from Arizona, people like Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney from Wyoming, people that are doing what they think is right for the country, even if it means potentially subjecting themselves to ridicule from members of their own party and their constituents. So props to everybody who's doing that.
What about you, Lincoln?
Oh, wow. Turning the question back around on me. I think someone who I definitely respect now is, I would say, in terms of modern day, I won't give a full-on historical answer. I definitely respect senators who have been able to stay almost out of the national fold. So kind of senators who have been able to focus on their states and their constituents. Someone I'd point to is Senator Ed Markey. I think he's been a fantastic senator for Massachusetts. He doesn't seem to have any national aspirations. He has been a representative of Massachusetts for 30 plus years. And I admire the way that he's stuck to his values and his morals. He's always remained a strong progressive who fights for strong moral leadership and sticks to his values. So that would be my choice for the modern day. And as we wrap this up, first of all, thank you guys very much for answering all these questions and for talking about the forum.
Oh, I mean, thank you for having us, Lincoln.
Of course.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's an honor to be your first guest.
Well, we're glad to have you guys, and we're excited to follow your journey into the working world more. So now that you've started Close the Rift, what's next for you two career-wise?
So right now, I'm writing for a website called La Tonique, giving my political input when I can on a bunch of different issues. And In addition to that, I will be going to law school in the fall, still trying to figure out where, which is stressful, but it's all part of the process.
And Carter?
Yeah, so I work for a government relations agency right now. I mentioned telehealth earlier. It's basically online healthcare. So basically what we do is we read legislation from states all around the country, and we try to support legislation that expands access to telehealth, and maybe point out the flaws in the legislation that doesn't. So it's pretty fun, to be honest with you. I never thought I would be working in telehealth, but I enjoy the debate of it. As you know, Robert knows me well. He knows I love to debate. And then going forward, I will also be going to law school at some point. I'm actually studying for the LSAT right now. I'm not sure. I have no idea where that's going to be, but some point down the road, I'll do it. And then beyond that, I would like to get into some form of electoral and or legislative reform. So I talked about the primaries earlier. There's a few organizations out there, like No Labels is one, a very notable one that's kind of advancing that idea. So I think that's kind of where I'm headed at the moment.
Well, that sounds great. Best of luck to both of you. And thank you for joining the chat today. Really interesting thoughts from you both. And we look forward to seeing the success of Close the Rift and your personal success in the future. For the audience, stay tuned for coming episodes of Across Talk next month. Feel free to visit the Renew America Together website, which is linked below, for more information about bipartisanship and healing American divisions, as well as research about disinformation campaigns and voter fraud. The link for both Renew America Together and Close the Rift will be found underneath the video in the description. And feel free to like and subscribe to continue with updates. And thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.